Welcome to the XFO Intelligence podcast and our legendary investor series. When people hear the name George Soros, they almost always think of, one moment.
Right.
September 16th, 1992. The man who broke the Bank of England. A spectacular trade that netted his fund over $1 billion.
It's financial folklore. But what our research, conducted using the Deep Augmented Thinking method, reveals is something far more profound. That famous trade wasn't the masterpiece itself, it was the visible result of the masterpiece, a sophisticated mental operating system for understanding complex markets.
Exactly. We're moving beyond the single trade to uncover the framework behind all the trades.
Yeah.
The core of the system is a direct challenge to, all of traditional financial theory.
Okay.
Which, rests on the comforting idea that markets are efficient and tend toward a stable balance or equilibrium.
Soros's lifetime of experience told him that was dangerously incomplete. He discovered that markets don't just passively reflect reality, they actively shape it. And this insight is the cornerstone of his entire philosophy, the theory of reflexivity.
So think of it as a powerful two-way feedback loop. It starts with us, the market participants, operating with our inherently biased perceptions. And these biases, they influence our trading decisions.
And those decisions move prices. But here's the magic step. Those changing prices begin to change the fundamental reality they are supposed to be reflecting.
Right. For example, a company's rising stock price isn't just a grade on its performance, it's a tool that can help it acquire other companies more easily or attract the best talent. The reality on the ground has now been altered. Precisely. This new reality then feeds back and reinforces the original perception, creating a self-perpetuating cycle. Soros didn't see equilibrium, he saw dynamic disequilibrium, where these feedback loops can drive prices far, far away from any theoretical fair value.
So how did he operationalize this? Our research, conducted using the Deep Augmented Thinking method, reveals that he built his system on 3 pillars. The first is what we call the reflexivity engine.
Okay.
He understood that these feedback loops weren't a bug, they were the engine driving most major market movements.
The second pillar is, for me, the most radical. He called it the fallibility principle. While the rest of the world was searching for perfect forecasting models, he built his entire system on a radical embrace of imperfection. He started from the premise that all human understanding is inherently flawed.
And he didn't see this as a weakness to be overcome, but a fundamental condition to be exploited. It's the source of his famous statement, "I'm only rich because I know when I'm wrong." He even operationalized this by using physical cues.
Wow.
Yeah, like a sudden backache as a biological alarm bell, a signal that his thesis might be flawed, and it was time to reassess.
Imagine that, a risk management system tied to your own body. This humility leads directly to the third pillar, the boom-bust model. For Soros, market bubbles weren't strange anomalies.
No.
They were the predictable, almost natural outcome of reflexive systems. He identified a clear pattern, a whole sequence of phases, from the initial unrecognized trend to the manic euphoria, and finally to the inevitable crash.
Okay, so we have the theory, but how did he use it day to day? What does the operating system actually look like in practice?
It functions as a continuous learning loop. Step 1, identify the prevailing misconception. He was a master at spotting where the market's consensus view had become dangerously detached from the underlying reflexive reality.
Step 2, formulate and test a hypothesis. He wouldn't bet the farm right away.
Right.
Instead, he'd establish small pilot positions. He treated trading as a scientific process, using small bets to see if the market's feedback would confirm his theory.
And then step 3, scale or abandon. If the reflexive feedback was positive and his thesis was proven right,
then what?
He would go for the jugular, allocating massive capital. If the market contradicted him, he would exit immediately and decisively.
So it all comes down to capturing asymmetric payoffs. His philosophy wasn't about the frequency of being right.
No,
It was the magnitude. As he said, it's not whether you're right or wrong that's important, but how much money you make when you're right and how much you lose when you're wrong.
And what makes this so powerful is that it's a framework for all complex systems, not just finance.
Wow.
He applied the exact same logic to his philanthropic work with the Open Society Foundations. He'd identify a social need, fund multiple different approaches to test what worked, a kind of philanthropic hypothesis testing, and then pour resources into the solutions that created positive, reflexive feedback loops.
And in today's world, this framework is more relevant than ever. We are living in a market environment defined by reflexivity.
Totally.
Look at Tesla, whose stock price influenced its ability to raise capital and dominate the EV industry, or cryptocurrency valuations driven almost entirely by community belief rather than fundamental utility. The narrative is the asset.
The Soros operating system provides the mental tools to understand and navigate these dynamics, rather than being victimized by them.
Right.
It demands intellectual humility, emotional discipline, and a constant willingness to adapt.
Right.
The system doesn't offer easy answers, but something far more valuable, a way to see the world more clearly.
In that gap between perception and reality, Soros found not just danger, but extraordinary opportunity.
Now, here's a question we'd like you to think about. Where in your own life, outside of your financial portfolio, do you see a reflexive loop at play? A situation where a prevailing belief is actively creating the reality it describes.